What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the 2024 Subaru Solterra Touring. So I actually have talked about the Solterra before. Some of you all may have seen it, but I actually published it on our Subaru channel last year, and then we decided to stop posting on the Subaru channel. It's just a whole mess. So that video basically doesn't exist anymore. But I did talk about the 2023 Solterra before, and so I'm going to be sharing kind of my previous thoughts and how they bleed over into this updated iteration, only 1 year removed from its initial launch. And I'll try and cover some of the 2023 stuff that you may or may not have seen on that video. We're going to talk about everything that this 2024 has to offer, what's new for 2024, and then we'll take it for a test drive and I'll give you my pros and cons and let you know whether I think you should pick one up for yourself. So starting up here in the front, again, it's an EV, so you've got pretty simplified front grille, no real need for big air intakes or anything like that. You've got this LED headlight cluster that has these multi-beam headlights up front. You can see they're kind of segmented out, and some really nice accents on the inside as well. Down here you do have LED fog lights, little passive air vent here, some nice body molding. It's a Subaru, so you're going to have a ton of this black plastic cladding all the way around, although, you know, it is in partnership with Toyota, but you have a lot of Subaru elements here, that being one of them. Big Subaru badge in the center. You do have a front-facing camera that's going to work with your 360-degree camera system, some ultrasonic sensors, again, more of that plastic cladding, those fog lights, little satin accent, and then you do have some air intake at the bottom to help cool the battery off. Now, while this is an EV, you actually do not get a frunk here on the Solterra. You got basically all of your electrical components, all of your fluids and things like that under the hood like a traditional vehicle would. And if I were to lift this up to somebody who's not a car person or doesn't know that this is an EV, you might be like, oh yeah, there's the engine right there. There it is, that's an engine. Because, you know, for all intents and purposes, it looks similar to an engine and it's under the hood, but it is not, it's just the electric motors. And again, this is in partnership with Toyota, so this is basically the body of the BZ4X with some Subaru cladding, extra ground clearance, a couple of Subaru accents, and I'll point those out as we go. That cladding works its way up around the wheel wells here, and then you get these massive 20-inch two-tone alloy wheels here, Subaru badging in the center. I think these are a nice clean design. They really don't scream EV to me though, which some people may prefer, right? Typically with EVs, you'll have a lot of closed off areas to optimize the airflow. These just look like normal wheels to me. Moving back here, you've got your charge port, and just in case you weren't familiar, it is an EV, so they say it right here so you don't forget, but you can just push this, it'll pop open, then you can get access to your 6.6 kilowatt onboard AC charger, and then if you pull back these little tabs, you can get access to your DC fast charging port. The Solterra does have DC fast charging, but it peaks at 100 kilowatts, and you may be like, that's really low for 2024, and you're not wrong. On the 6.6 kilowatt AC charging, you can charge from 10 to 80 in about 9 hours, which again is on the higher end. Most onboard chargers are around 11 to 12 kilowatts, so 6.6 is pretty low. And then on DC fast charging, they claim you can go from 10 to 80 in 35 minutes, which if that claim holds true is pretty competitive. Moving on back to these side mirrors, these are in galactic black, which is the body color that we've got here. Integrated turn signals, they have blind spot monitoring built in, they're power folding, they're heated, and they've got the cameras up underneath that work with your 360-degree system. Keyless access here on the door panels, you can just touch that little pad, then put your hand inside and you can unlock it. Solterra word mark at the bottom here, it looks like it's just like a sticker. Then you got some more plastic cladding at the bottom. You've got black roof rails up top with fixed roof rail mounting points and then a split pane panoramic sunroof. Now, as far as battery and performance here on the Solterra, you have a 72.8 kilowatt hour battery pack that runs along the bottom of the vehicle, and that battery pack powers 2 motors. There's one in the front, one in the back that are going to combine for 215 horsepower, 249 pound-feet of torque. On the lower trim premium, you're going to get 227 miles of EPA estimated range. Here on the limited and the touring, like we're looking at here, you're going to drop even lower to 222 miles of range. You might be thinking 215 horsepower, 222 miles of range, those all seem pretty low. And you're right. Comparing this to what else is out there at this price point and this size, those numbers are pretty pedestrian. But we'll see how it performs when we take it for a test drive. One benefit though is you do get Subaru's award-winning symmetrical all-wheel drive system, plus their dual function X mode. So All right, so moving here to the back of the Solterra, you're gonna notice my favorite thing about Subaru models that they really had to implement here, and that's just 15 badges. So you've got Subaru badging, symmetrical all-wheel drive badging, the Subaru logo, the Solterra logo, the Touring logo, and the EV logo, just in case you forgot you were driving an EV. They could do away with basically all of these. Just give me the Subaru badge, get rid of all of this, and maybe you put Solterra here and then Touring, get rid of the EV badge. It doesn't need to say that it's an EV, we already know. But you do have some nice accents back here. You have a couple spoilers actually. They have a little spoiler here above the liftgate, and then they have what they call a ducktail spoiler up top, just a little split accent piece there. Nice big back windshield, but it's pretty flat, super slanted. You do have some nicely designed tail lights here, some intricate bits to them. I do like the little accent stripes that you get on the back of the tailgate here. That'll give it a nice profile at night. Some ultrasonic sensors dotted around, more plastic cladding, and a plastic diffuser at the bottom. You do have two cameras up underneath. One of them is going to work as your smart rear view mirror camera, which we'll take a look at inside, and the other one is just your standard backup camera. We do have a power liftgate here as well. Then we can get access to all of this cargo space. So with the second row seats up, you're gonna get about 30 cubic feet of cargo space. And then if you fold those second row seats down, obviously you'll get a good bit more. You've got your Harman Kardon speakers back here. You've got some Solterra mats. You've got some hooks for groceries. You've got your little cargo shade here that you can slide over. So here are your Solterra floor mats, the cloth ones. Now inside of this little bag, you have your dual voltage charging cable. This is gonna give you a J1772 plug here on one end, but then this little box has interchangeable kind of outlets that you can put on it. So you've got your 240 volt for faster charging, and then you've got your standard 110 volt that you can plug in just a normal wall outlet, but this is going to charge really, really slowly. Highly recommend using this one if you can. Basically all EVs have this kind of setup now with this dual level cable. They just call it different things. So if we move that out of the way, we can lift up this underfloor storage. Got a nice little area down here. You could put your cable, another just standard charging cable down here. I think it probably comes standard with this, and then you can add the dual voltage as an option. Because I remember seeing this one when we did our last review, but it's got like a blue handle to it. So it's a little bit more unique. You can get a little bit more depth to the storage if you slide this fold flat floor down a level. You just get a couple extra inches of floor space there. Nothing too crazy, but it's nice that you can. We can go ahead and close her up and hop inside. All right, so here inside the Solterra, there's a couple noticeable changes right off the bat. The biggest one is this steering wheel. This is almost like a Cybertrucky looking, they call it a squircle, like square circle steering wheel. That's kind of what we've got here. Not only do we have a very aggressive flat bottom sport style steering wheel, but we have a flat top steering wheel, and then everything else kind of caves around it. So not your traditional rounded steering wheel here, but they did this for a reason. They wanted to give you better access and better visibility to the driver information display past the steering wheel. And I think for that purpose, they definitely accomplished it. That was actually one of my big complaints about the previous Solterra, is that the wheel would go up and it would round off like this. And so half of it would be in the way of that driver information display. So you'd either have to raise it up really awkwardly or lower it down. And no matter what, it never really fixed the problem entirely. So now you can drop this steering wheel all the way down like this, and you just can see that display perfectly. It's not in the mix at all, but if you do want it a little higher, it just barely catches the bottom of it. Much better visibility there thanks to this redesigned goofy style steering wheel here, which I'm actually a big fan of. But let's go ahead and just work our way across this entire cabin. Now, as far as the materials on the inside, this is where I really think you see the Subaru influence. It's a lot of just plastic and rubber and things, not a lot of significant accents. There is a lot of gloss plastic, which is my mortal enemy. It's a dust and fingerprint magnet, and they put it on all of the places where you touch the most. And that's just one of the most insane design decisions that I can even think of. Why would you do that? But they did it everywhere. So up top on the door panels, it's kind of a soft touch, but not super squishy, but you do have some squishiness on the door panel here. And like I said, that gloss black all around the buttons for the mirrors and your lock and your window buttons and your position memory seat buttons, all that kind of stuff. And then basically down from the armrest, it's all just hard black plastic, including around the Harman Kardon speaker system here. Now you do have some nice little accents across the dash with this kind of fabric accent. Keep in mind, this is the Touring model. This this is the top of the line trim that you can get, and you still just get kind of like a textile fabric. It doesn't feel the most premium. Usually that's reserved for the lower trim levels, and then you get something a little nicer up top on the higher trims, but here it's just the same kind of textured fabric. Doesn't look bad by any means. It's just interesting that they didn't give you anything a little bit higher end. You get a couple little accents around the speaker grills up top here. Again, like I mentioned, that fabric around the vents. You've got your auto high beams, you've got your trunk opening button, and that's really the only buttons that you have down here. On the actual steering wheel itself, it is a heated steering wheel and leather wrapped. You've got your buttons for your driver information display on the left side, and then all of your kind of cruise control with, they call it lane tracing for Toyota. The lane tracing buttons and things like that, we'll test that out on the test drive portion. They do have a low speed, hands-free driving system. It's called Traffic Jam Assist, but it requires a subscription to use, which I think is crazy and kind of criminal. We won't really be able to test that out because I don't have a subscription, but apparently you do have that. And I assume that's what this little infrared sensor is for, to make sure you're not looking around or whatever when you're using that low speed hands-free driving feature. It'll probably disengage or at least beep at you if you're not paying attention. Light controls on the left side, wiper controls on the stock over here. Then on the back of the steering wheel, you have these paddle shifters, and this will let you decrease or increase your regen braking strength, which will then reflect on the screen there. Speaking of that screen, you do have a little driver information display here. Now, while I appreciate having a digital driver information display on a Subaru because it's the only one, I think that the graphics package is a little bit outdated, and I feel that way about most of Toyota's stuff, but nonetheless, you've got that there. Hopefully, Subaru will bring more digital information clusters to all of their other vehicles, because I much prefer that to analog gauges. I think analog gauges just need to go by now. You do get a lot of good information on there. It's just a little bit cluttered and a little bit outdated looking, in my opinion. But you do have it. You can see your speed, you can see your adaptive cruise systems, you can see your regen braking strength, what gear you're in, all that type of stuff. Now, one of the things I complained about in my previous Solterra video is just how goofy this whole steering wheel section is. And unfortunately, outside of the steering wheel reshaping, which I do appreciate, this whole driver setup is still pretty clunky and weird. Why you have this big kind of harness for this little tiny screen, I don't understand. You don't need this piece at all. Just take it off. This textured plastic, basically. Just have the display right there. Just leave it there. It can just float. Just right there. This area over here also hasn't changed, and I'm okay with that. I think for the most part, I like what they've done over here. You've got a 12.3-inch infotainment system here. This is Toyota's infotainment system, not Subaru's, which I actually appreciate because Subaru's stinks and Toyota's is better. I'm not saying that it's the best system out there or even one of the best systems out there, but it's better. It's more responsive, it's cleaner, it's got, you know, higher res graphics, more modern looking graphics, and just the responsiveness is really impressive. You do have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and then you can push this little camera button here, and this will give you this like pivoting 360-degree view around your vehicle, which is really cool. You can change the view so you can get more of like a bird's eye view of it as well, and then you can pause this at any time to kind of see what's around your vehicle, and then you can go into settings and change your vehicle's color and things like that. I think it should default to the correct one, but it didn't, so we'll go ahead and switch it. And this does kind of have like a parking assistant. They call it Advanced Park, and we'll definitely test that out against my Tesla. Then you have a lot of these little buttons here. Now, these are not haptic feedback buttons, but they do give you a little audible feedback, as you can probably hear there. You do at least get some responsiveness there, but you got climate control options here. You do have some little toggles here as well for turning your fan speed up and down, switching where it comes out, all that kind of stuff. Your defoggers are here, AC, and then heated and ventilated seats for driver and passenger, and that heated steering wheel, like I mentioned. Some vents here. You've got a push to start button here, electronic parking brake, auto vehicle hold, one pedal driving. You've got your dual function X mode button, traction control, your 360-degree camera view that I mentioned. Your advanced parking button is right there, and then you can switch between different drive modes. So you've got normal, eco, and power, and then your X mode as well. You can switch through. Now, this gear shift area I actually really like. It's a push button for park there, and you can push this little ring and it will go into neutral. You can twist left to go into reverse, or twist right to go into drive. So pretty intuitive system, and I think it works pretty well. Now, behind that, you do have this little pad area. You can push and open it up and get access to a Qi-enabled wireless charging pad and one USB-A port inside of there. I like that when you close this up, it has a little frosted textured bit that you can see your phone charging through. That's cool. Two cup holders here that I'm taking advantage of, and then inside of this center console, you get a little tray that you can remove. You've got your owner's manual and all kinds of stuff in here, and the reason for that is that you don't have a traditional traditional glove box here on the Solterra. So nothing over here, just plastic. You also have this storage area down under here. So since you have no actual transmission, it's all shift by wire, so you get this extra opening. Little felt pad down here, 12-volt outlet, USB-C port on both sides, and then you have this little area here. You can put your phone or really just kind of some little storage down there. A little bit extra underneath. Now, as I mentioned, you do have a dual pane panoramic sunroof. So one for the driver and passenger, and then one for the backseat passengers, split with this piece here. You've got some LED dome lights up top here. You've got your controls for your sunroof there. SOS button behind this little, looks like one of those like presidential red buttons. You like flick down the plastic and then boom, hit SOS, which I guess is to prevent mishitting it, but also that's one extra step that you have to do in case of emergency, so that could be a little dicey there. But past that, you do have this nice chunky rear view mirror. Now this doubles as a standard rear view mirror that has HomeLink garage door controls built into it, and then you can flick this little switch and it switches to a rear view mirror camera, which I really like. And you can customize the rear view camera by changing the brightness, by changing the height, the distance one way or other, the rotation, the zoom, all kinds of stuff. Super customizable here on this smart rear view mirror camera. As far as the climate control system, it is a dual zone automatic climate control system. You also have a voice assistant built in that you can trigger by just saying, "Hey Subaru." Now, as far as the seating surfaces go, these are a StarTex trimmed seating surface. They are perforated with a little bit of accent stitching, nothing too crazy here. They're decently comfortable seats as well. 10-way power adjustable driver, 8-way power adjustable passenger seat. Both are heated and ventilated. All right, hopping here into the back seats. First thing I notice, tons of rear legroom. I mean, I've got this seat super far back, way further back than anyone would normally sit, and I've still got 3-4 inches of rear legroom. I got a map pocket on both seats, and just, it feels open and airy, you know, especially if you had this sunroof back, it'd be great. You'd have so much light back here. Now, door panel materials definitely on the lower end, feel very kind of cheap and chintzy with this gloss black plastic here. Black all the way down. The center armrest does fold down. You get a little kind of tray. You could put like a smartphone or a tablet in there. 2 cup holders here. 2 cup holders here over on the door panels as well. So you got about 3 cup holders per person back here unless their middle seat is occupied. You've got heated seats back here for the outboard seats, 2 USB-C charging ports back here, and some rear vents. So comfort back here is great. Functionality, really good too, you know, with the amount of ports and things you have back here and the vents. It just looks a little bit on the cheap side. This is the Touring. This costs $54,000. And this is what the little back area looks like. Like this looks, I don't know, it's just really cheap looking in my opinion. I feel like they could have done a little more. But comfort, it's great. Can't see. So you've got cross traffic detection, which is helpful. Every time you move the seat forward, it beeps like it's on a back loader on a construction site. So stupid. All right, but let's focus. Let's put it into power mode, which is gonna be my preferred way to drive here with this kind of squircle steering wheel here, and get it out there. See what the 215 horsepower can do. There's that cross traffic again. That's not bad. It doesn't like punch at all or like push you back, but it doesn't feel bad. When I really hit it again, I feel like it like gave up a little bit. Like it was going and then it just gave out. There we go. That was pedal to the floor and it took just a second, then it went. That was nice. Yeah, no, it feels good. It's a decent sized SUV and that felt good. Felt better than the Blazer, I'll say that much. And this has less horsepower than that by a good bit. But I remember when I made my last Solterra review, I was impressed by the speed and kind of zippy feel of the Solterra. And I've actually had this car many times. When my wife's car's been in service at Subaru, they've given me a loaner and it's been a Solterra and she doesn't want to drive it. So I end up driving it, she drives my car. I've always enjoyed the time that I've driven it, always. Although just with some of the weird quirks that, you know, I wouldn't want as my daily, I can kind of ignore those while I'm just test driving it or driving it for service purposes. But Subarus always have really good visibility, but I think the Solterra is actually kind of an exception because it's not really a Subaru. It's a Toyota with a Subaru badge on it. So some of the visibility stuff is weird. The back windshield's super slanted, so when you actually look out the back, the view's pretty small, but you do have that rear view mirror camera, which is really nice. I'll end up using that the majority of the time. Front windshield is fine. You don't have eyesight cameras. That's a weird little thing. Since this is a again, the Toyota, it doesn't have Subaru's EyeSight system that you're gonna have on every other Subaru SUV. So that's a little bit hard to get used to. You still get some nice safety features though. But on the windows, you kind of get a pro and a con. The con is that the windows have a weird little pocket window, but it's got this big kind of bolstered piece here. I have no clue what that is. I'm assuming it has something to do with the electronics in the side mirror. The pocket window is really squatty and tiny, so that's not great. You get a weird little A-pillar blind spot here. But the pro is that the side mirrors are huge. I don't think I've ever seen side mirrors this large on anything that's not a truck. So that's pretty impressive. Tons of visibility out those side mirrors. While we're stopping here, let's go ahead and get a DB test at idle. I'll turn my ventilated seat off too so we get the absolute quietest cabin. So right around 42 dB on average. And then once we zoom back up here, I'll give you a city cruising dB test. Here's dB at city speeds. About 63 dBs on average. But 3 things I like and then 3 things I don't like as much about the Solterra. First and foremost, I really actually like this steering wheel. I'm pro Squircle steering wheel. I think it's a welcome change. I think it looks cool. It's kind of quirky with everything else in this cabin, so it kind of fits. But it also has functionality, right? Having that flat top so you can see your driver information display. So I really like this redesigned steering wheel. For number 2, I really like how you can change the regen braking strength. That is something that I really wish that my Tesla had. They used to have it and they took it away. Just the fact that I can on the fly grab these paddle shifters, put it in normal car mode, right? Where you just let off the acceleration and your car just goes, but then you can easily click it all the way down to full 1 pedal mode with just a couple clicks of the paddle shifters. Super nice. I love that feature. I think all EVs should have that. And then finally, I really do like the design of the Solterra on the outside. The inside needs a good bit of reworking. It needs some material upgrades. It needs a reshuffling of this whole steering wheel area. Not great. The outside, however, I think actually looks really nice. And I'm not a Toyota fan. I don't typically like the look of like a 4Runner or a RAV4 Tundras or anything. Like, I'm just not a big Toyota guy. Oh my gosh, there's the first Cybertruck I've ever seen. That's the first one. All right, real quick, we'll get a highway DB test here after I freaked out about the Cybertruck. Ugliest truck on the market, but cool. $70 dB. That's pretty quiet. That's impressive. We can also try out the adaptive cruise control with the lane tracing, is what they call it. Subaru calls it lane centering, Toyota lane tracing. So we'll set that. And you can kind of take your hands off the wheel. It's gonna yell at you in just a second though. So it's not really a hands-free system at all. Again, that hands-free system they do have is a low-speed system and you have to have a subscription for it, which sucks. But this is more just an adaptive cruise with kind of lane departure prevention. But it actually works pretty well. It'll keep you inside the lane and it will do slight turning too, which I found really nice. But anyway, back to the design on the outside. I think it's really nice. I like the front end a lot. I like what they did with the back end. I like the little split spoiler thing. I like this design of the headlights and the taillights. I think it's a really cool, the multi-beam headlights. Really cool, really unique design. I'm a big fan of that. Now, what are some things that I don't like as much? Well, first and foremost, I've talked about it already, but this whole steering wheel area with these kind of wings and these arms to hold up the infotainment screen, really goofy. Unnecessary, way too cluttered, and it just looks outdated. It looks like it's trying to be futuristic, and it just looks bad, in my opinion. Secondly is just the interior materials. I mean, this is the Touring trim, $54,000, and this is what you get. It's all black. It's got a little bit of that contrast with the worst possible contrasting material in that gloss black plastic, and then it's just hard black plastic all underneath. I don't get that. I think it's really, really not great. And this like textured fabric above the glove box doesn't look great, looks cheap. It looks like something you'd see on like a cruise or something like that. It's just not good materials. And then finally, my last real gripe with the Solterra is just the charging speeds. I mean, 100 kilowatt charging on an SUV at this price point in 2024 is silly. They really need to boost that up. Even 150 makes a big difference. 175, big difference. 200, big difference. All of these just little increments that they could make would make such a difference to the charging speed. Now, like I said, you do have a pretty nice charging curve on the Solterra, 10 to 80%, 35 minutes. That's not outlandish. 100 kilowatt fast charging with 6.6 kilowatt AC charging, it's just not gonna cut it in 2024. Could definitely improve that. Just those little changes would make such a big difference. Now, I've said a few times in this video, I personally wouldn't buy a Solterra. It doesn't mean that it's a bad vehicle, it's just not right for me, but it might be right for you. If you're looking for a vehicle that, you know, you really like the look of Toyotas, or you really like the capability of a Subaru with the increased 8.3 inches of ground clearance, you love Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive system, you love that their seatbelt chime alarm just never stops going off no matter what speed you're going, and it just gets louder and louder. You're gonna love the Solterra, right? I can basically break this down into two categories. If you're an EV enthusiast, you're not gonna buy a Solterra. It fails in every major category right now, right? Doesn't mean it can't get better, but right now, charging speed, not good, range, not good, and performance, not good, right? If you're not an EV enthusiast, but you're a Subaru fan wanting to transition into the EV space, you could definitely get a Solterra and be happy with it. You're gonna love the acceleration, you're gonna love the fact that you don't have to pay for gas, you're gonna love some of the other amenities, the safety features and things, and all the ground clearance like I mentioned. You're going to like it. So EV enthusiasts, probably not for you, but if you're looking to be a new EV owner, definitely check out the Solterra because I think you'll actually like it. All right, before we end the video, I wanted to try out this automatic parking feature. Since this is an EV, I'll test it against my Tesla and see how it does. But let's go ahead and put her in reverse here. Go up against some of these parking spots here. We've got a lot of very plainly painted lines here, so no funny business here. All right, my seatbelt is buckled, so I can see these different parking spots on here, and I can pick different ones. See, that's already a step above Volkswagen for sure. Kind of in line with the Tesla, similar at least. So we'll go ahead and pick, okay, so it's just showing us a rendering. You can't actually touch that one, but we'll go ahead and hit start. You get turn signals and everything. The wheel's turning on its own, pretty nice. Okay, cool, so it's got a little highlighted area of where it's trying to line up. And it uses those ultrasonic sensors to keep it away. It gives you a little rendering at the end. That's kind of cool. Shows you all around your vehicle how well it did, and oh my goodness, that is a dead center parking job. Let's hop out and look. That is just as good as my Tesla would do. Very nice, well done. I don't even have to show the Tesla. We have a clip of it, here you go. But it's the same deal. Good job, Subaru. And, well, good job, Toyota. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Drop a like on the video if you loved it. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think about the improvements made to the 2024 Solterra? Is it on your list? Do you have one? Let's talk about it down in the comments. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to be one of the first to see every single new video the second I hit publish. We'll see you in the next one.